Ryan, welcome.
Hey, thank you. How's it going?
Good. So you're going to be talking about advanced Keepa strategies, right?
Oh yeah,
Well,
advanced sourcing with Keepa. Keepa, my favorite tool.
yeah,
This actually lines up pretty closely with what Rich was talking about.
yeah,
Two of the things and the foundations for success in his model. I'm going to dive a bit into today.
yeah. So guys, Keepa, obviously it's a tool that is pretty much it's one that you cannot do without in this business. We don't like to say, hey, you need to go buy this tool and this tool and this tool and this tool because you're starting a business. You don't want to have lots of expenses, but Keepa is one of those that you pretty much have to have in order to do this successfully without guessing. And so, but we typically just teach that there's just you look at the lines and looking for consistent sales, consistent pricing, but there is just so much more to Keepa than just that graph that you see. And Brian's going to tell us more because it can do so much more than what you
Yeah,
think it can do.
you're exactly right, Ryan. I hope not to overwhelm folks today, so I'm going to try and keep it, fairly, well, a little bit of blinders on here so we don't get too
Yeah,
distracted. But this should be good.
yeah, go for it. Do you have anything you need to share? You're welcome to share the screen if you
I
want
do, yeah.
anytime.
I'll
Perfect.
get a share going here.
Yeah. And so, guys, I know a lot of this stuff. So, I mean, today this has been really good. We've had a good mix in this conference. Some very basic level stuff, and then more advanced. And what Rich just talked about, a little bit more advanced. And I bet this is going to be a little bit more advanced too for some of you that been around for a while and like, hey, where's the meat? Imagine this is going to be more of the meat. But this, if you're brand new, don't put this aside. Just know that, hey, this, what we don't want you guys to do is feel overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, I got to do this and this and this, and now I got to do wholesale. And we had Diana Ratliff talking about websites, and now I got to build a Google News site. No, you don't. This just gives you an idea of what's possible out there, because
Yeah.
there may be certain things that you just gravitate to. And so if anything that we're talking about is just not where you're at right now, just hang on to it. Maybe shelve it for later. Maybe you'll never do wholesale, and that's okay. We have so many successful students in our community that never, ever, ever do wholesale, and that's fine. But if you guys are a data nerd, you're gonna love this because Keepa is all about data, and there's just so much good stuff there. So
Yeah,
I'll
you're
shut up and let you talk.
okay. Can you see the
Yes,
first
sir.
slide here?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
awesome.
Says how to.
How to. All right. So how to. Let me get this going and get my animation going. What we're going to talk about today is how to identify 30 profitable ASINs that perfectly match your strategy or niche in about 5 hours. And if you're going to use a VA like Rich was talking about today, or Ryan was talking about yesterday, and actually you can do this probably in about 15 minutes. Gather the information that you need to create a list to send to your VA, who would then go through that list. And then, so really you could do this in about 15 minutes or less. Lots of great stuff in here. It is slightly advanced, only in that there's a fair amount of data analysis going on here, but I think it makes pretty good sense. People will be able to pick this up pretty quickly. First of all, I just want to give you a little bit of background about myself here. Why am I here today, right? So I actually launched Amazon business in early 2019. And for me, the mindset was, because I'm a bit of a serial entrepreneur, tried a number of different avenues, I guess. And finally, at this stage of my life, I just was like, there is no way this is not going to work for me. And so I set out to remove all the obstacles and potential excuses and set myself up for success. And part of that success was joining the coaching program. I'm a huge proponent of the coaching program. I had a great coach. I had a great peer who was with me, who started about the same time, Mr. Oscar Matumbo. Oh gosh, I meant to double check the spelling of your name there, Oscar. Hope I didn't screw that up too much.
I think that's right.
Okay, good. We actually had the same coach. And I remember meeting Oscar at the Proven Conference in 2019, and what a great environment that was. He had like this pack of people that kind of followed him around everywhere he went because he was a rock star at that conference. I mean, 3 months in, he was doing phenomenal numbers, and it was just, I felt really honored to have him as a classmate, so to speak, and the coach that we had. We both learned a lot of great things there. So after about 6 months, I had my first 5-figure sales month, and finally got my wife's attention. I said serial entrepreneur. My wife was like, "Oh yeah, you go ahead and do that Amazon thing. Let me know how that goes." And so about 6 months in, we had like a 12K month, and she was like, "Oh, I think I might be interested in what's going on over there." And so that was great. Robin became my partner in this business, and in month 12, which was, so I guess less than a year after we started, we got our first $50,000 sales month. And we're focusing on retail arbitrage, online arbitrage. That's it. We didn't do any wholesale at that point. I had maybe created a couple of bundles, but I still didn't really know what I was doing. In fact, I'm not sure I really know what I'm doing today. What I'm going to share with you today may blow your mind in terms of what Keepa does, but trust me, it's really a just-in. I know Jim talks a lot about the just-in-time learning, and that's kind of what Keepa is at this point for me too. I mean, I know just enough to apply it to my business and help leverage it for us to be successful. But it's certainly, I don't profess to know about everything Keepa or anything in the Amazon business for that matter. But Robin, as a result of this business, was able to leave her day job as an IT director and work full-time in our e-commerce business starting in December of 2019. So really good opportunity for her, for both of us. We're both kind of data geeks, which is kind of how we ended up here talking about Keepa. We both love using Excel. My wife is a huge, I call her the Excel guru. And a great date night for us can just be figuring out some new ways to automate our spreadsheet empire using fancy things like XLOOKUPs and pivot tables and stuff like that. And I'm going to use just a tiny little bit of that today, hopefully not too much. But ultimately, I'm fulfilled through coaching and mentoring. I am passionate about helping others succeed. And that's why I'm a coach in the program today. And that's why I'm here to share with you today what I know about the coaching program. I mean, about Keepa. All right. So for some reason, my back end is not synced with the front end of my presentation. So bear with me as I try and sync both of these guys up. Our goal here today is going to be to identify 30 profitable ASINs that perfectly match your strategy in less than 5 hours. And I'm going to break this down to you in four milestones, because there's kind of a little bit of work at each step of the way. The first is we're going to create a list of about 50 store IDs, and this is what I call competitive analysis. So competitive analysis is just a different, it's kind of a perspective change when it comes to being successful, I think, in this business. And one of the things I was going to mention before I moved on to this slide, so let me back up just a little bit and say this. I think the bulk of this hour is going to be spent on some mechanics, some specifics in the mechanics around Keepa. But really, once you get this process down, it happens very quickly. The mindset portion of this business is really what's going to make the difference. So competitive analysis for me is like this. This is the mindset. This is the perspective shift. Let's say that we owned a kitchen supply store, a kitchen store. And we noticed that a new kitchen store opened up across town, and they're kind of selling the same kind of things that we are. We would probably swing by there with our fake glasses and mustache and kind of scope out the store and say, I wonder what these guys are selling that I also sell. What are their price points? Are they trying to undercut me? What kind of things are they selling that maybe I haven't thought about before? And then take that knowledge, what I call business intelligence, back into my own business and potentially make some adjustments. That competitive analysis is really the basis of what we're going to cover today. So if you were going to open a new kitchen store, let's say you didn't have one yet, you would want to actually analyze all the kitchen store market, right? Kind of get the lay of the land, find out what kind of products are good, what kind of products are profitable, what may have to be a loss leader for you, things like that. But at the end of the day, you want to find some unique selling proposition. You don't want to be like every other kitchen store out there. You want to focus, for us, I think, on the most unique and profitable items. So we're going to evaluate a large group of kitchen stores, so to speak, across the country. We're going to take stock of what they have available, and then we're going to build our store selectively based on kind of what's good out there in the market. What are people buying right now? It's not always the garlic press is used in this space a lot, but it's not always the same garlic press every year, right? It gets new and improved. We get new pans every year. We get new knife sets, and knives are really popular right now. So we want to, sort of get the lay of the land and bring some of those select items into our store. And credit where credit's due here. I remember meeting Danny Stock at the First Proven conference that I went to. Super nice guy, one of the nicest guys I've met in this business. He actually was the first one to open my eyes to the power of using Keepa in this way. So didn't want to leave his name out of this. Anyway, our first milestone here is going to be to create this list of 50 different-ish store IDs. This is the competitive analysis part of the business. Milestone 2 is that we're going to create a list of 300 to 400 highly targeted ACEs. Okay, and we're going to do this using Keepa. Milestone 3 is we're going to remove some categories of products that we don't sell. So for instance, I don't sell electronics because I don't want to have to deal with warranty and stuff like that may come back on me. I don't sell video games. I don't sell clothing, shoes, and apparel. I don't sell books. So we're going to pull back a lot of products that are in categories that I don't sell. So we're going to remove all those just so I don't have anyone trying to source in those spaces where I don't want to sell. And then milestone 4 is we're going to source the list. So if we're doing the sourcing ourselves, it's going to take us about 5 hours if we've got 300 to 400 SKUs, ASINs, I mean, or it's really going to take about 15 minutes if you're going to have your VA do it. So milestone 1. Oh, you guys still see the slide?
I see milestone 1 is what I see.
Perfect. Okay. So we want to identify one or more listings in the Amazon catalog that match our Amazon selling strategy. So for those of you doing RA, OA, I love to think about this in terms of big box brands. So what's a big box brand? So a big box store is going to be like a Walmart or a Target or a Home Depot or a Lowe's. Even maybe a smaller box is going to be like a dollar store. One of the dollar stores. Costco is a great one. Sam's Club is another great example of a big box store. So we want to think about the brands that are in those stores. This is going to help us identify listings that are kind of following the same strategy that we are, which is this retail arbitrage, online arbitrage. And the reason that we want to focus on those store brands is that, and maybe Rich can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I'm like 99% certain that nobody is going to get a wholesale deal with Home Depot on Husky branded products. Like we all have to go to the store or go to the website and buy it retail. So what you're seeing for sale online on Amazon is usually bought at pretty darn close to the same price that we're buying it for, minus some potential discounts around like maybe a discounted gift card, or maybe you've got a relationship with the store manager. So, you're getting a discount if you buy enough of those. But for the most part, the price that you see on the shelf or on the website, when it's on sale, that being the best price, that's pretty much what everyone's paying for that. And so the people who are selling those kinds of things are probably doing the same kind of strategy that you are, which is, at least for a portion of their business, which is the retail arbitrage, online arbitrage. So I love to throw these examples out as store brands that we could dive into and pretty quickly find a lot of items or a lot of stores that are following the same strategy. And I really love to exploit these stores in full, right? So Trader Joe's, if you just find a couple of Trader Joe's listings and identify all the different stores that are selling on those Trader Joe's listings, you can pretty quickly exploit the entire store of Trader Joe's. Same thing goes for Walgreens. The regional stores are also great for this strategy. So regional stores are those that are like on the East Coast, you've got Giant. In the Midwest, you've got Meijer. In the south of Texas, you've got H-E-B. On the western half of the US, you've got Fred Meyer. Southeast, you've got Publix. They carry brands and or configurations of products that you generally don't see across the country. So it can be very easy to find a store branded item from HEB or Fred Meyer, or even Meyer, any of those stores, obviously. Find a few listings that have that brand on them and grab all of those store IDs, and we're going to source all of those stores. I'm going to show you exactly how we're going to do that. You can also exploit wholesale accounts. And so let's say that you do have an existing wholesale account and you are getting certain kinds of products from there. Well, I'm sure we all start to know kind of our competitors, right? And so we might identify a certain seller or a store ID that is selling a lot of the same things that we're getting from a wholesale partner. Chances are maybe they are using that same wholesale partner. Maybe we want to, again, sort of spider that out and think about all the different stores that are using that particular wholesale source. And let's find out what other sources they may be using as well. And we're going to pull all that information into this key search. The listings that we're going to first ferret out here, they don't need to be profitable. The goal here is not in this first step to find a profitable item. We're just looking for listings that kind of meet our strategy. And then finding listings that have a ton of different stores on them is really easy to do. And it will actually reduce the amount of upfront work that you have to do to create the list. In the end, it may be less fruitful. And let me give you an example of what I mean. There are a few stores out there that have thousands and thousands of ASINs listed on the platform. Those are the kinds of stores that we want to avoid because generally speaking, those kinds of stores have discounts that we probably can't get or we're not getting them yet. And so they can actually skew our results in the end because they've got huge amounts of wholesale accounts at very deep discount. And we may ultimately pull a lot of ASINs into review that aren't profitable for us. So I'll talk about this a little bit more later, but I like to exclude those people from my search results because those stores, because like I say, generally speaking, I'm not going to find a whole lot of profitable items in there. Then we're going to create this list of store IDs from these listings, and we're going to put it into a CSV format. So CSV is comma separated value format. So basically we're going to do store ID, comma, store ID, comma, store ID. We're going to use about 50 of those. This is the requirement that Keepa has for us to put this information into Keepa so that we can pull all the data back. Now, when I'm teaching this particular process to my students in the coaching program, I love to do it live because there's just nothing quite like seeing people's eyes light up when we're doing a live example of this. Unfortunately, I think all the other coaches can attest, when we're in a Zoom session and it's recording and we're trying to browse the internet, things are just so slow. We'd be doing a lot of waiting. And so what I've done here is kind of given you some screenshots of what it's going to look like so that we can be sure and get through this within the time allotted. So we're going to create this list of store IDs, put it in a CSV format. I love to use this free tool from ASIN Zen called ASIN Fetcher. And this little free plugin makes this process super easy. I call it easy peasy here, but the idea here is we're going to identify the store IDs very quickly and easily. We're going to put it into a format in Excel or Sheets that's going to create the CSV that we need. The ASIN Fetcher, while it's an ASIN Zen product, this particular part of ASIN Zen is actually free. You can do it manually, and I used to do it manually. I've been doing this process for about 9 months, and ASIN Zen just recently came out with ASIN Fetcher. There's just a bunch of new data that's been made available either from Amazon and or Keepa that has made this process a bit easier. But I used to open up all the store IDs and search in the URL bar for the store and then put that into a notepad and then do the comma separated manually in there. This is going to be so much faster than that. So I will demonstrate using ASIN Fetcher. And let's take a look at this next slide. So I searched here for Husky. I was looking for a Husky tool bag more than anything. And the first thing not the first thing, but the one that popped to my attention real quick here was this bucket jockey. So great little thing you put on your Homer bucket from Home Depot, and it holds all of your tools or your garden supplies and whatnot. And the AZ Insight plugin very quickly, now this part is not free, unfortunately, but it does come with your annual subscription. This tells me like kind of how many sellers are on this listing. And so pretty quickly I can see I've got 33 stores selling this particular item. So this may be a good spot for me to start. Like if I could analyze 33 stores right off the bat, that's going to bring me a lot of different ASINs that might meet my criteria. The next product I'm going to look at here is another store branded item. This is a new sort of upscale snack brand from Target. This is called Favorite Day. And this is the caramel cashew trail mix. Again, with this one, we can see there are 9 FBA sellers and 1 FBM seller. So between these two listings, I'm looking at around 40 or so different sellers. So when I click into this Husky listing, this Husky bucket jockey listing, this is the ASIN Zen plugin, and this looks a lot like RevSeller. It has a lot of the same features. You'll see that I've got some predetermined costs configured in here. That part is not necessarily as important as this part at the bottom, which is this grab a list of Amazon sellers. And this is actually going to basically in one click show us all of the different stores that are selling this particular product. And this part, this little orange bar that says ASIN Zen grab a list of Amazon sellers is actually free. What happens when we click that is we get this little pop-up window, and it includes the store name, the store ID, the type of seller they are, price, condition, and then we could just jump this link over here that says grab ASINs from the storefront. But we're going to use the power of Keepa to do this on a whole bunch of stores at one time instead of just one store at a time. So in this screenshot right here, I had just selected the seller ID. I'm going to show you what it actually looks like when I select the seller name, the store name, and the store ID. And I paste it into a Google Sheets or a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. And I paste it into cell A2. Cell A2 is the store name, and then cell B2 is the store ID. So this is super useful for us, but we still need to get it into the CSV format. So this is where it gets a little bit geeky here. So hold on to your hats. We're going to paste this list, like I said, into column A2, starting there. And then I set up a formula actually in cell C1 that's going to put the CSV format into place. Now, it's basically this little formula right here that says equal text join yada yada. It's super easy if you want to jot that down. I can send you a working version of this very simple formula if you want to drop me an email at cobro.coaching@gmail.com. And I'll just, it's not an email address that I monitor necessarily, but if you send me, like, please send me that worksheet, I'll send this to you with like just 2 stores in it. And then it'll create everything that you need in cell C1. Okay, so that is basically milestone 1 complete. We have created our list of around 50 different store IDs. Let's move on to milestone 2. Milestone 2 now is going to use the power of Keepa to create this list of 300 to 400 highly targeted ASINs. We're going to use the premium data access tool. Back up. Within Keepa here, it's one of my favorite parts of the Keepa tool. And as Ryan said, It is super powerful. There's a lot of things. Like I said, I think I'm just still scratching the surface on the power of Keepa, but I love leveraging this tool to help me find new replens. And then we're going to focus on the listings that meet our criteria. So remember that when we're going through a listing and doing our evaluation, we're probably focusing on a number of different things, like a checklist. Like I give my students a checklist. Does it meet this price point? Does your FBA fees, fall within this range? Does the sales velocity equal X? Let's make sure the listing, the buy box is not suppressed on the listing. Let's make sure we're picking the right variation if we happen to be on a variation listing. Let's not compete with Amazon. Let's make sure there's not 100 people trying to sell something that only moves 10 units a month, things like this. This is all stuff that we can do in the back end of Keepa. And so we can take a lot of the guesswork out, which is why this is super easy to give to your VA, because we're basically only providing the list of ASINs to our VA that meet every single criteria point for us in our business. There's just one unknown here, and that one unknown is how profitable is the item, and that's where the manual sourcing comes in. So we're going to open Keepa, and we're going to click on the data, premium data access. They're going to click on the data menu, which is the box, and then we're going to click on the premium data access. And this is going to blow a lot of people's minds, and it did mine. There are so many options in here. And I'm going to just show you, I was able to use a program to give me a screenshot of this page from top to bottom. There are so many options in here. It's crazy. And I just want to, I can zoom in here, I think, and kind of show you what this looks like. The first section is sales ranks and price types. And so this is all of your new, used, lightning deals, warehouse deals, collectibles, etc. The number of, let's see, the availability of the Amazon offer, the pick and pack fee. I mean, everything that you can think of is on this page. It's really, really cool. But also know that when you're doing a default report out of Keepa, unless you change the columns or the data that you want to see, every single one of these items is going to be in your report. So you're going to download this report, and it's going to scroll to the right for about a half a mile, because that's how much data Keepa is actually giving you. Okay, we are going to paste in that list of store IDs that we created previously over in the Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel file. We're going to paste it into this particular section right here, which is, we're going to scroll down. It's about probably 3/4 of the way down the page. And it's the section that says refine your search even more. And then there is a section called seller. So this says you can restrict your results to listings with offers from specific sellers. So the seller ID is required. Separate multiple seller IDs by comma, hence the CSV format that we were trying to get before. We're going to paste those in here. And what happens is Keepa is going to tell us now how many products in the catalog that they're tracking in Amazon's catalog meet this criteria. And so just from those 40-ish, 43, I think it was store IDs that we created, that we captured previously, all of those stores at this point in time, it is a point in time reference, just like kind of everything is with Amazon and Keepa, pulled back almost 7,300 products. So all of those 43 stores were selling 7,300 products. That's a chunk, right? I mean, to go through 7,000 results for me at this point, if I was going to start sourcing this list, I would just quit. Honestly, there's no way I'm ever going to get through 7,000 ASINs. So I need to narrow this down a little bit. And we're going to keep tabs on this section that tells us how many products are meeting our criteria. So we're going to continue to pare down these results based on our preferences. These are mine. You're going to have your own, and that's the beauty of this business, right? We all have our own different way or specialized way of approaching this business. And that's why people who are in my mastermind, or people who are in the same city as me that I know who also do the Amazon business, their business doesn't really look like mine, because we all bring different areas of expertise to this. And so this is kind of what mine is. And even the crazy thing about this is, when I teach this to my students, they apply this in their own way. And so their businesses don't look exactly like mine, and yours is not going to look exactly like this either. But I'm going to scroll down to the section here, which has, this is actually right below the section that we were just in. And I like to remove the digital product type because I don't sell digital products. I'm not sure, I don't know anyone who sells digital products except for Amazon. I just don't know. There could be other third-party sellers out there who do it, but I don't. So I just remove that because I don't want to come across I don't want to try and source anything that I don't sell in terms of the category. I do want to come across things that I don't sell already that are in the categories that I like. The next thing here is I love this new, well, it's not new, but this option to skip variations. So a lot of times as a new seller, we get confused when we come across a listing that has 3, 4, 12, 20 different variations. And think about this like, I think of a wagon. The standard wagon, a kid's wagon is like red, right? The radio flyer or whatever. But there may also be different versions of that wagon in orange and blue and yellow and green. Those are variations. Those are like child ASINs to the parent ASIN, which is the red wagon. Well, when you come across a listing like that, and let's say that there are 100 Keepa drops a month on that listing, you don't know necessarily, without doing a lot of digging, which one of those ASINs is actually driving the sales. Now, I will say it's getting easier and easier. The data is becoming more and more available for us to be able to know for sure. But especially for new students, I love to just say, let's take the variation out of the equation. And when we know we're dealing with an ASIN that has it's only one item, the Keepa chart that we're looking at is specifically related only to that item. That's it. We're going to pull back only the items that meet no variation and no digital product. And when I click those boxes, you'll see that the results have gone down substantially. We're from 7,300 results, we're down to 4,100 results. This is good. We're starting to narrow in on the types of products that are going to meet our strategy. Okay, moving on here. So at this point, we're going to get these results down to 1,636. And this is the next section in that Keepa long scrolling page that I was showing you, is we are going to start setting some targets here around the velocity. This is the sales rank drops in the last 30 days. I like products that move relatively quickly. So if it's not dropping at least 10 times a month, I'm generally going to pass. It doesn't mean I always do. Sometimes I'll set this to 5 to try to find some of that really low hanging fruit that maybe other people are not getting on because it doesn't have enough velocity. And that can also be a great strategy. You need to tailor this to your business model, kind of how often. I mean, the downside to choosing an item that says has 40 or 50 drops a month is you're working very fast. You have to do a lot of work to keep an ASIN like that filled. Something that does 5 to 10 drops a month is you're not having to work as fast or as much maybe. And ideally, maybe we're making the same amount of profit. So you set the velocity here to your preference. Now, I like to point out that I'm only filling in the 30 days. And this is an average, by the way. This is average sales rank drops in 30 days. Now, if I were to fill in the 90 days, in other words, I want to see a very consistently performing ASIN here, then my results are going to keep us very literal in this. The last 90 days. In other words, if I put a value in here, that product has to have existed on the platform for at least 90 days. So if it was only on for 45 days and I put a value in 90 days, it's not going to return that result to me. So you can, and this can work in your favor or this can work against you. I like to see some of the younger listings, and so that's why I'm only putting in a 30-day. But if you want really those stable long-term products, you could fill in the 90 and even the 180-day sales rank drops if you wanted to. Now, I mentioned that I don't like to coach my students to compete with Amazon. I don't think it's wise. There are so many other opportunities on the platform. We don't need to worry about, and Amazon gets on enough of our listings as it is. Let's not get into a position where we're competing with them. That doesn't mean that we're afraid to compete with Amazon at all. What we're trying to do is keep our risk as low as it can be, and our opportunity for success to be as high as it can be. And the deal with trying to compete with Amazon is, Amazon's got tremendous buying power. And, unless you're getting something, for pennies on the dollar, you're generally not going to be able to compete, or it's going to be so slim for you in terms of profit that it's just not worth it. There are so many other places, better places to put your money. Now, just like with variations, after you get more experience in this business, you may say, yeah, there are some products that I can get at the same price that Amazon can get, that Amazon is paying. And so, yeah, I want to compete with Amazon. That's great. You may want to leave those unchecked or modify these check boxes at that point. But for now, to really find the lowest of the low hanging fruit, I like to remove all these options and just make sure that no Amazon offer exists. Now, this last one is really one of my favorites lately. I love this. Let me just clear my throat here real quick. The pick and pack fee has become my most favorite switch or filter in here lately. And let me tell you why. I'm holding a pen, and if you can think of a fancy pen that goes, it's in a blister pack, right, with cardboard on the back end. This thing weighs like, a quarter of an ounce or something. It's super light. Basically, I could ship this in an envelope with a standard stamp, and my fulfillment fee, on the platform is going to be super low. So if I'm trying to find, very small and light items with very low fulfillment fees, then I can really play around with this number, right? Like what I don't want to do, because I specialize in grocery, is I don't want to send cases of green beans. I just don't like doing green beans. But I could say, send a tube of toothpaste or a tube of food coloring or something like that that's super small and light. And so if I really wanted to zero in on the very small and light things, I could lower that pick and pack fee cap. Remember, it's a from number to a maximum number. I could lower that to like $3, $2.50, $2.70, whatever the lowest fulfillment fee is. And I'm talking about just the pick and pack fee, not the referral fee component of the FBA fees, to a very low number to find those things that are super small and light. Alternatively, if I wanted to maybe focus on the larger things that people aren't as interested in, because like, what did I just say? I don't want to ship large cases of green beans. That's an opportunity for someone who does, right? And so maybe I want to put in here that I'm only looking for like, I can't remember what the category name is called, but oversized, right? Maybe I want to set a minimum pick and pack fee here so that I'm finding really the large items that maybe I want to fulfill merchant versus FBA. I don't know. There are so many options in here for you. So when we set these criteria in here, we've now we've gone from 7,300 roughly down to 1,636. This is getting more palatable for me if I'm going to do the sourcing. Yeah, I think I could actually get through 1,600 products. It would be a long week, but I could do it, right? Just to clarify here, I put this sales rank drops at 10, and I may have referenced 10 sales. But I do like to point out that a sales rank drop is equal to one or more sales on the platform. It's really not possible for us to know exactly how many sales that is, unless we are the only seller of an item. And, Keepa says, oh, there were 12 drops, but we actually sold, 30 items. Then there's some formula in the background associated with that. And, some programs out there try to give us an estimate of what those monthly sales are. We're just interested in drops. We know, I think it's a conservative number. If there are 10 drops, there's at least 10 sales, right? Okay, good. Got that out of the way. Now, we're going to scroll back to the top section. of that long page. And here's the most important part. Well, I don't know that it's the most important part, but it is a very important part of this Keepa backend sourcing strategy. And that is to kind of kill two birds with one stone here, to put a number in the current buy box section. So we're going to say now only return to me the results where the buy box is a minimum of $25. What did I just do here? Two things. One, hopefully I lifted my price point, because, you know, for a lot of us in grocery and OTC and pet food and stuff like that, items tend to be really cheap. So by putting this $25 price point in here, I've hopefully started to increase my average sales price. But number two, I have eliminated all of the listings that don't have a buy box. So this could be good and bad. On the good, any of those listings where the buy box is suppressed and Amazon's forcing the sellers to make a couple of extra clicks to make the purchase, we generally know, I mean, as a rule of thumb, when that happens, the sales velocity of an item goes way down. That typically initiates the race to the bottom, and we don't like to be on those listings where everyone's price tanking, right? On the flip side, those listings that have the buy box suppressed could also be because we have an item that has very limited availability. And because of the limited availability, we've got that Econ 101 comes into play, the supply and demand. And when the supply is low, but the demand is high, then the price goes high. And Amazon will often suppress the buy box when they believe that the price is too high for a particular item. But the item can still sell well. That's okay, right? But I think, again, that's more of an advanced strategy. So I like to just focus in right here and say, don't even show me items that don't have a buy box. The other potentially bad thing here is that we're going to miss things that are out of stock. So when an item doesn't have anything in stock, it also doesn't have a buy box. So this is going to eliminate those, but it's going to show you items that are currently selling on the platform that you're pretty sure are not discontinued and that you can still source. So when we put that $25 price point on there, we're going to now lower our results down to 390. We've gotten to our magic number. I said 300 to 400. So we barely made the cut here. We got it down to 390. I can get through 390 pretty quickly. My VA can get through 300. I might have to give them a list of 600 actually to keep them busy for a whole day or you know, whatever. But 390 is absolutely a number I feel confident that I can get through if I'm doing my own sourcing. I'm not going to give up like I would at 7,000. Okay, so milestone 2, check. Create a list of 300 to 400 highly targeted ASINs. So now we're going to, once we've got all of those things set in the Keepa data access tool, we're going to modify this a little bit for our needs. So we're going to choose the columns that best fit our needs. We're going to export the results to Excel so that we can slice and dice it a little bit. And then we're going to change our rows option to 500 and we're going to export. I'm going to show you what that looks like. So by default, all of those items that I showed you on that Keepa page that just scrolls for a half a mile, they're going to show up on this page, and you would be scrolling to the right for a long time to find all the things that you want. I have limited the columns that you're seeing here to the ones that I prefer to see. And I may have even modified this a little bit since I made this screenshot, because I don't do new third party anymore. I do buy box in this particular column. But so I'm looking for the ASIN, the category, the buy box, the title, then sales rank drops. And I can't remember what's to the right of this, but it's just a couple of more things. I don't really have all that much that I'm getting that I'm going to request from Keepa when I do this. I'm going to change back up. Do you see this little hamburger thing that says 100 rows? Now, notice down here at the bottom, somewhere I got off track because it says 403, even though I only had 390. So apologies for my bad math there. I'll call it imperfect data. But when I have more than 100 results, I have to change this little guy right here to say, show me all show me all of my results. Otherwise, when I export, it's only going to show me it's only going to export the first 100. When I do that, I'm going to export all the active columns. I'm going to export it to Excel. You can export it to CSV, but I think even with Excel, you can open it in Sheets. All right, so now we have 2 of our milestones done. Number 1, create the list of store IDs. Number 2, create the list of 300 to 400 highly targeted ASINs. Milestone number 3 is we're going to remove categories of items that we don't sell. I mentioned this earlier. So we're going to open up this export file in Excel or Sheets. We're going to sort by category, remove those that we don't sell or care to source. For me, this removed about 12 items. I'm going to show you what this looked like. So when I opened that up in Excel, it's pretty easy to put a filter, a data filter on across the top on all these column headers. And I just drop down the categories and I select, in this case, appliances, books, clothing, jewelry, electronics. And I think that was all that was on this one. And when I, that highlighted 12 items on that whole list of 400 and whatever it was, 3. Oh, now I see how I got to, I think I got how I got to 390, was I removed those 12 items from the list. So now I'm down to just the categories that I am interested in selling. So let's say that you're not approved, to sell in, let's say, baby products. Then you'll maybe want to remove all the baby products as well, because you don't want to you don't want to source those, waste time sourcing them. So milestone 3, pretty easy one, check. Remove all of the items that we don't sell. Milestone 4, here's where the fun kicks in, right? We're going to source this list in about 5 hours. We're going to have our VA do it. A couple of things here. I want to give you an idea of what your sourcing pace should be. And I'm going to tell you this because I was the guilty one who, when I first started doing this, I was like, oh, I found this a great listing of, I'm going to call it Pop Rocks. I can't remember exactly what it was. It was like, oh, rock candy. That's what it was. It was rock candy suckers. And I just fell in love with this listing. And I thought, oh, this is the coolest product I've ever seen. Look at, if I could just find this thing for $7, I could make, 100% ROI. And I sourced that thing for days. I mean, days. And I still came up empty. And it took a long time for me to get over the fact that most of the things that we're looking at are not going to be winners for us. In fact, Sue Pruitt, credit goes to Sue, who I heard say one time, in this business, we don't need to be good at necessarily finding the things that make us a lot of money. What we need to be good at is identifying the things that don't make us a lot of money, so that we can just, push them to the side, and so that we can actually, focus on the things that have a good potential of making us money. So in order for us to get good at identifying the things that don't make us money, we need to move pretty quickly. If it doesn't pretty quickly identify itself as a winner, right, as a deal, then we're moving on. And what I mean by that is my VA spends about 1 minute per ASIN. And 1 minute per ASIN, if you're not finding it, then move on. There are so many, as you saw already when we just pulled this list of 7,000 different products, potential products for us to go through, that there isn't any reason we need to spend 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or hours or days, as I did, trying to source an item. If it doesn't pop to the top, especially with a retail or online arbitrage, using a Google search that, oh, I find this item for $4.99 or for $10.97 or whatever it is, just move on. It's just time wasted, unfortunately, after a minute or two. Now, I do tend to spend a little bit more time than my VA. I don't cut bait soon enough on this because I think, well, I'm really good at this now. I surely can find a good source. But the truth of the matter is I shouldn't spend that kind of time. But the reason I want to bring this up is this should give you a great idea about the pace of your sourcing. If you're sitting down to source when you get home from work at night or on a Saturday morning or whatever, and you're spending 30 minutes trying to find the source for one item, in my opinion, you're not doing it right. Find a way that you can move through these ASINs pretty quickly. We're going to have about a 5 to 10% success rate on finding winners. And so the longer we spend on each one of these 390 ASINs. It's going to take us just too long to get through it. We don't spend hours trying to find the best source or the best price, okay? It's either a deal very early on or we are moving on. And finally, there are so many profitable ASINs out there, we can't afford to spend hours and hours trying to source a single item. It's just not worth it. Even if it's 100% or a 200% ROI item, it's just not worth it. All right, moving on to tips and tricks, and then that should leave us a couple minutes for questions if there are any. Don't source your own store. Oops. Don't source your own store. So a lot of times I will use one of my existing ASINs as a starting point to make my new list. Okay, so I'll say, oh yeah, this item is really profitable for me. So I'm going to go to that ASIN. I'm going to find all the other sellers. That's going to be my starting point for those store IDs. And then I'm going to build from there. And if I forget to remove my own store from the list, then my VA ends up sourcing my own store all over again, which is just a waste of time. So know to remove your own store from the list. Also, keep a list of known stores that you don't want to source from, right? You don't want to compete with them, and exclude them from your store ID list. So monster sellers, those people who have thousands and thousands of listings on the platform. For me, I don't think I'm outing anyone here, but Blue Monster is one that I compete with. I don't compete with anymore, but I used to try to compete with, and they have thousands of listings. I remove them from any of the searches that come up. PharmaPacks is another one that sells a lot of things. I don't compete with PharmaPacks. And what I found, I think I mentioned this earlier, is when I do bring their store IDs into my Keepa sourcing list, it tends to really skew the results that I get at the end of the day. And so if I'm able to remove those high volume sellers from my list and focus in on really on the lower hanging fruit, then I tend to be a bit more successful. I've heard the rumor, the myth is that there are other, Amazon also has multiple store IDs on the platform. So not just Amazon. I don't know exactly what they are. I have my suspicions, but I also remove them from my list. If they've got thousands and thousands of listings, I just remove them from the list. And so I keep kind of a known list of who those people are, and I remove them so I don't pull their results back. Consider smaller stores that you may not have sourced previously. Okay, or maybe you only have one or two ASINs from that store and you want to fully exploit them. So let me give you an example here. I don't think I'm going to be outing anyone specifically. Trader Joe's is super saturated. And for a long time, I only had like one or two things that I got from Trader Joe's. And then when they clicked with me, which is how I think I came across this strategy, why don't I take a look at what these other stores are selling that's Trader Joe's, and let me see if I can find any more deals there. And sure enough, I did. But think of these smaller stores that you may have an ASIN or two, and it's maybe not worth your time to go there and shop. But if you can leverage this tool and find the brands, exploit all the brands, not all of them. Again, this is a point in time snapshot that we're looking at. So you may want to revisit some of these brands on a monthly basis and see if new things are turning up. They surely will. It's a great strategy for that. Consider competitive analysis in other countries. So let's say that maybe you're in the North American Remote Fulfillment Program, NARF, and you find that you've got an item that sells particularly well in Canada or in Mexico. Connect the dots there, right? Find some other items that do particularly well. That may lead you to other items that do particularly well using this same strategy. Now, finally, I'm going to leave you with this. Expect a 5 to 10% success rate. Okay, I've kind of been harping on this a little bit. This rate can increase when known stores get removed. For instance, I don't want to compete against Blue Monster. I don't want to compete against Amazon. So when I'm able to remove them from my list, my rate tends to go up. And then the rate can decrease when I'm zeroing in on these very small, very profitable items. And that can be okay. It's a great strategy. So let's say that I pulled a list of 400 SKUs or ASINs back from my list. I really tightened down my nuts and bolts in there. And I said, fulfillment fee, my pick and pack fee is a max of $3. My price point is $40 or more. I really went, and put these to the extreme. I may only come back with, 50 results. And then I may only find one item out of those 50. But guess what? That one item that I found, it's a surefire winner, right? I think that's it. I think that's all I've got there.
That's all?
That's it.
That was awesome. Oh my gosh. Wow. That was a master's degree in Keepa, guys. That's what you got there. Jeez. Carol's loving it. Lynn. All right. Oh, guys, Jim wanted me to mention. So in on Silent Sales Machine Radio, episode 369, he talks about Keepa. So if you're new to this, listen to that episode. It's definitely a tool you have to have. It's one of the tools he said, the only tool that you should get before you're making $1,000 a month, he says on his podcast. So episode 369. Brian, great job. That was incredible.
Really, thank you for that. Thanks for having me, Jim, Ryan, everyone.